Hello and welcome. Let's put some music on and get set up. Oops. Daily NFT charts live stream kicking off now. And that's going out. Most important part, saying GM in the live stream channel. Let's give this just a moment to go out so people have a chance to see this notification and react to it in like half a second in order to join this. And yeah, might as well get started. So welcome to the daily NFT market health analysis with me, Daniel Tenner, aka Swombat, where we look at the stats of the market, like the data of what it can tell us about where the market is, what's going on with it, rather than just the vibes, which are actually at this moment very misleading. There's in particular, there's a number of people talking about things like some kind of like a number of projects pumping, like a lot of derivs are pumping. Goblin.wtf is the sort of like poster child of this thing, but there's loads of derivatives going up and down, right, left, and middle. And some people might be forgiven for thinking that, oh no, actually the market is doing okay because look at all these projects pumping everywhere. And it's useful to have a good dose of reality to address this. And this is what the data is for. So if we look at the data, the actual data, what we see is, hold on, I need the brush tool here. What we see is that no, things are not pumping, although on the good side, it looks like we might have made a bottom in the top 10. The volumes are not quite making a higher high yet, but at least they haven't sunk back down just yet. So who knows, maybe this is the change of trend. Obviously we can't confirm it yet. We need to see some kind of pattern like this start to happen, but it certainly can't go towards a pattern like this without first doing this. So this is a good sign. If it was doing this, if we were here instead, or if we were like this, then it would be worse than what it is now. So that's a little bit of optimism for today, but definitely not so much optimism as to call a kind of turnaround just yet. Let's wait a little bit and see where this goes, because it could very easily hang it here and then start going down again. That's entirely plausible, and we don't have any kind of confirmation. There's no real reason to believe that this is the end of it. No particular factor in the macro or anything that would lead to that. If anything, today crypto has been having a bit of a rocky day, although we'll get into that a little bit later. But basically, the general factors are not making it more likely that NFTs will start turning around just yet. So let's be a little bit suspicious of that until we see it confirmed. In the other indices, we can see the trend is still down, definitely in Zeneca Old, in Zeneca New as well. And now that we've properly removed the Heaven Computer Mint from the women-led projects, we can see that actually the trend here is also very, very dramatically down. And it's not actually doing, it was doing better until about then, and then it started just dropping like everything else. Quick glance at the bar charts shows us there's nothing special going on. There's yes, slightly higher levels, has slightly higher volumes just here, but no specific project is pumping and driving any of this activity. So we've got the reality check to know that, looking at the underlying data, it's not being falsified by something special happening. If we also now look at the longer term chart, we can see that, yeah, okay, it's quite good that we actually are having a little bit of rebound here, because if you look at it in context, we have actually made effectively, the last time we were at these levels was back in June, July, August. A lot of the it's not fair to say a lot of the projects weren't started at that point, but this was just the beginning of the existence of the NFT market. I would argue that there was no NFT market that you could call a market until about May last year. That was the inception of it. And then it took a few months until August to actually bootstrap itself into something worth calling a market. And it's been kind of oscillating since. And as we said, the general trend is a little bit down, or based on the relevance metrics that I'm using now to select the top 10. And the price is actually also down if you think about it. If you look at the red line, it's kind of retraced a lot of that stuff. And yeah, so it's nice to see that maybe we're bouncing up, maybe we're getting a turnaround now, because if we keep dropping, this gets more and more bearish, basically. And at this point, it's worth actually like talking about the goblins. Heideken says, it's like, you know, there is a narrative that people are trying to shill online that, oh, things are actually like, you know, turning around, and there's like all the sorts of activities in these projects, and what do you mean the market is down? Like, look at all these like projects pumping, and goblins is at 2 ETH and something like that. And you might say, but Daniel, like, you know, you're looking at a different edge of the, and I've had this criticism, you're looking at a different side of the market, and actually all the activity has moved to another bit, and so therefore you're missing the place where it's all happening. There, I would suggest, like, if you don't trust my stats, and you should never trust just one person's stats, one thing you can use as a kind of reality check to sort of try to get a fuller picture is, if I can load it here. If we go to Dune and we go to the OpenSea charts, which I don't think are useful as a singular source of data, but they are useful as a reality check for other sources of data. And if you look here, you'll see that no, volumes are not picking up. We're not seeing a massive turnaround. We're not like, you know, we're at basically like all-time lows for the year. This chart doesn't go back far enough. But effectively, like, you know, people have been tweeting how the volumes are the lowest. Like, you know, every few days there's a new all-time low volume for the year, and so that does not compute with the idea that we're seeing a market turnaround. Now, May is becoming an absolutely disastrous year. I don't know how come it's got so much volume here. Because I guess it's all because the other side mint happened on May 1st. That's the only reason why this, like, if the other side mint had happened a couple of days earlier, May would be like, you know, down here. It would be a really low volume day, because it's like $2.5 billion of volume. But other side here is $500 million, and here is 300. So like that's 800, and let's say 3 days. So if 806, like, it would be 809, it would be about $1 billion less. So it would be around here right now instead, if it wasn't for the other side mint, if we cut out those 3 days. And that shows you what the picture is for May. It's a disaster month in terms of volumes. And so, no, these charts are not misleading, and they're not missing an important part of the market. It's like, this is the market right now. But yeah, degen season is back, and it's really worth speaking to this, and, like, you know, realizing, if you don't yet realize this, that degen season means people are pushing all sorts of garbage projects, and the reason they do that is because they can make money from that. So influencers with no morals are pushing like all those random projects, and I'm not saying everybody who mentions like Goblin Town is an influencer with no morals, but there are going to be all sorts of projects being pushed that are complete garbage, or derivatives of goblins plus OK goblins, or God knows what else random crap people are coming up with. And you should know, like, if you've been in the market for, like, you know, more than 6 months, you probably know this already. But if you haven't, you might not know that this is a typical part of the post-bull cycle, even though this time we didn't actually get a bull market really. But we did get those 2 peaks of, like, you know, ApeCoin and other sides launch, which kind of were a sort of pseudo bull, like, you know, like in this period. It was not really a bull, but it was like sort of a pseudo bull. Following a bull, usually we get this kind of post-bull euphoria phase where people are sort of desperate for any kind of project that's going to promise them to get those quick wins that they didn't manage to get during the bull, except this time there wasn't even the bull. So people are maybe even more desperate because they didn't really get anything in this time. And then, like, people are sort of dangling shiny stuff in front of their eyes and saying, oh, like, you know, go and like, you know, here's your chance to, like, you know, buy into a project that's definitely going to make it. I believe, and I mean, I don't have hard evidence on this. I'm not ZachXBT. You should definitely follow ZachXBT, by the way. I'm not NFT Ethics, more controversial account, but I still think they deliver a lot of value. I'm not CoffeeZilla. I'm just me, and I nevertheless believe that a lot of those projects are basically like designed to just take people's money, and they are being manipulated in various ways. It's very easy to manipulate things in the NFT space, like with limited supply and transparent blockchain, but not transparent intentions and not transparent like who is buying what for what reason. The fact you can just buy from yourself, which is illegal in other markets but not illegal in NFTs, means you can easily manipulate these kind of markets. And because like the combination of people being desperate for some kind of quick wins, and and people being able to manipulate the market and present that proposition to those people who are desperate, and give them what they want, makes for a bad combination where people are going to get fleeced. And if this is your first time around, just be aware that if go for it, be my guest, like have my blessing, like do whatever you want. It's your life, it's your choices. Just don't do it unknowingly. Don't think that this is where the meta is streamed. Okay, this is where the meta is going, and that somehow you you need to adapt and don't not miss out those opportunities and stuff. These are garbage opportunities, and you are well in your sanity to miss them. Remember, you can absorb an infinite amount of missed opportunities. You can only absorb a fixed amount of actual losses. So if Goblin Town somehow goes to 10 ETH and 20 ETH and 50, which it won't, but let's say it just goes to 10 ETH, eventually, even if it does as well as MFers, that still went down over time after peaking at some point. It was kind of one of those meme projects. And if you miss out on Goblin Town, that's okay. Anyway, you've already missed out on Goblin Town because it's already gone up to 2 ETH. And if you miss out on OK Goblins or whatever random shitty project like pumps from 0.05 to 0.2, that's okay. It's better than losing your 0.0, like better than putting a lot of people are playing with much smaller budgets, and so they might look at those projects as good opportunities because they're cheap. But the thing is, if they're cheap and then they just go down from there, you've just lost your money, and it doesn't matter that they were 0.05 if they're now 0.01. You're still losing your money. So just be careful gambling on those. Realize that you're gambling. Only gamble money that you can afford to lose, because you will probably lose it, because you're not the chef, you're not the cook, you're not the one who's deciding when the turkey gets slaughtered and how to cook it. If you are, then I'm not sure I have any kind words to say to you, I don't like you very much, because you're just fleecing people and taking their money. But I'm assuming most people watching this stream are not the people manipulating the market and trying to squeeze a bit of extra coin out of desperate people wanting to get some quick returns. So yeah, I think that's enough for this rant. So next, if we look at it just for completeness, I mean, we have these 3 thermometers planted in random points of the market: the Zeneca Old, Zeneca New, and Women-Led Projects Index. Do they tell us something different than the top 10? This being the top 10. No. So Zeneca Old is actually telling us the same thing. Maybe a bottom has been found, maybe not. We don't know for sure. It could be going either way. And in the long term, we're at all-time lows. Zeneca New is also telling us the same thing, like maybe a bottom has been found, or maybe we're going to go down further. Like definitely the downward trend is still possible, and we're definitely at all-time lows as well. And finally, the Women-Led Projects is also telling us that, well, it's not quite the same picture, but it's nearing its all-time low right now, which was this kind of weird spike downwards there. And it's trending down as well. So everything is trending down. We're definitely not in a bull market. We're definitely not heading back towards a bull. Not yet, anyway. We have the tentative hope that maybe this is the point where it starts to turn around, and we'll monitor this. I don't want to be too negative. Maybe this is the point where volumes start going up again. But we can't know for sure, of course. And right now, even a guess would be uncautious, because we haven't even really made a clear higher high there, and we'd want to see this confirmed a couple of times to see that, okay, there is actually a pattern where the market is now growing. Just here we could see that, okay, because it is going down like this is definitely a downward trend. So with that said, let's look at crypto before I answer Dicken's question. And if we look at trading view, so just a reminder, when you don't trust my charts and you think that maybe my charts are telling porkies, have a look at the Dune charts as well as a reality check. If Dune is showing like this massive increase of volume, like you at least know that there's something else going on. But actually, like, on that day, on February 1st, if that was when that was here. So it was showing an increase of volume here as well. So they're not so disconnected as they might seem, even though like other side is not tracked in these charts at all. Yeah, trading view for a quick look at crypto. Crypto's had a bit of a hiccup day today. People are quite scared. The interesting thing to me is that like a lot of the talk on like, because it's happened like as quite like steep drops like this, but are they even steeper than this? Yeah, like reasonably, well, not that steep, and there's a lot of volume here. Interesting. Anyway, because it's happened as kind of steep drops, and it's basically broken out of that flag pattern that we had drawn. I think I can make that one. Well, I'll do that another time. I can make that one a dotted line. It's gone. And it's so it's broken out of the flag pattern, and people are spooked, they're scared, they're talking about like they're worried that there's going to be another crash and so on. I mean, I did say for like since this happened that we'd probably see a kind of like downward trend, and I'm not surprised that we're seeing this downward trend. But what's interesting to me is that like if you look here, there was a drop between 30.6 and 28.6. That's a 2K drop, and nobody was talking about how is the end of the market. Whilst here we have a drop between 29.8 and 28, but so it's about a 2K drop as well. But suddenly everybody's really spooked, and people are talking about like putting their buys on Ethereum at like 1,000 or something. Ethereum does look a little bit more scary, to be fair. It has dropped below its all-time low there, which is, or like its recent low here, which is definitely a bit more worrying. But it's not as dramatic, at least not yet. It might drop further. As we know, when there's volatility in the crypto markets, there's going to be less volume in the NFT space, if only because it drives gas up as people try to make transactions in DeFi. And in fact, gas right now is about 95, so I would expect volumes to drop over the next 4 hours. So when we look at this, the next bar should be quite low. Maybe the top 10 won't be affected so much, but these ones will probably be like substantially lower, and they're already pretty low. So we're probably going to see further drops here. We're probably not going to see, in that case, we're probably not going to see this go like this just yet, not with crypto doing what it's doing right now. And it is what it is. It could also just rebound and go in the other direction on that, or back in the flag pattern just for one last round. So that would be called a false breakout in that case. Assuming that flag pattern was valid at all, which is another question. So I think that's enough for charts analysis, although feel free to ask more questions if you have them. So Diken says, could you think up a data approach to sniff out manipulation within a single collection? Well, I mean, it's pretty difficult. That's the thing. Because the numbers that people typically look at are things like floor price, owner count, and they do look at it is notable that when an NFT gets purchased for a very high price, one of the things you can do as a sort of basic due diligence is assume that unless you verified that there's truth to the information, assume that it's bollocks, basically. So if you're in a collection where everything's selling between 1 and 3 ETH, and somebody buys something for 99, if that person buying something for 99 ETH is a big brand or something that's doing so publicly, which taking Lazy Lions as an example, there were some brands that bought Lazy Lions for 99 ETH when they were trading around 1.5, and they bought some rare 1.1 Lazy Lions. And that was verifiable because the brand tweeted about it and stuff. So that's a legit purchase. If some random anonymous person buys an NFT in that collection for a very high amount from another random anonymous owner, by default, I'd assume that that's just noise and it's just trying to manipulate the market. You can still assume also that it will probably drive the prices up, but I wouldn't buy into it as a kind of validation unless I know who's buying it. Unless somebody comes out and says I bought it and like puts their reputation there. Even there, I'd kind of want to know who they bought it from to have a better sense of to have a better sense of whether it's a legitimate transaction. Because wash trading is really easy, and it like with something like NFTs, it makes it really easy to make it look like there's some kind of really hardcore transaction that just happened. That means the project has long-term value, because if somebody is willing to pay 100 ETH for the NFT in your collection that's currently only worth 1 to 2 ETH, that would be a signal that we're like the collection is doing really great and stuff. Other than that, I think the only tip that I would have is generally like take a sort of distrustful perspective on stats that people like that are presented. Like I tend to, floor price, obviously everybody looks at floor price, but be aware that floor price is meaningless without liquidity. So one of the things I always do is I also look at the like the actual sales that have happened. Like if I see something that's got a floor price of 100 ETH, but then I look at the transactions and they're all like 50 ETH, 60 ETH, then that's the floor price is bollocks. Is like remember, the floor price is just the price at which no one is willing to buy. It's not actually the price of the collection. You want to look at the actual sales to get a sense of that. And even there, potentially be a bit skeptical depending on the collection. But if you have lots of sales between lots of different buyers and sellers, it's still possible that it's manipulated, but it gets less likely the more volume there is. So when you have a collection with like, if you take, I'm not a buyer of other side, for example, and I'm not I'm not that interested in it, too much hype, and I don't believe in metaverse land and stuff. But if you look at let's load it up. Let's load up the Mobi chart for other side. If we get other side here, or we can look at Moonbirds as well, which is probably a legitimately traded collection. So you look here, you look at the last 7 days. Okay, there's not actually that much in the last 7 days. No, that can't be that's not the right other side. That can't be. 0.05, unlikely. Other deeds, maybe it's called. Yeah, there you go. Other deed. If you look here, hopefully, yeah, right. Like when you see this kind of activity, you know that, okay, there's some kind of like rarity traits and stuff that are influencing pricing there, but there is a lot of stuff traded here. It's very unlikely that somebody, especially at a price of like 3 to 4 ETH, is creating all this trading activity like as a fake. It would be very expensive to do so. And it's still possible. It's always possible. And I like to take the view of always being a little bit paranoid, but it seems unlikely. And Mobi shows you as well, these green and red dots, which are whale buyers. So if there's like lots of different, there are more whale sellers than whale buyers. Red is when whales, like notable wallets, are selling. So most of the notable wallets are selling other deeds, interestingly. And let's see if the logarithm is better. No, it's not much better. So when you see this level of activity, you know that there's not going to be a lot of manipulation. Although, if you see instead, the thing is, with the worst time, the most dangerous time is basically if you buy during a pump and that pump has been manipulated into existence. But one of my principles is I don't buy into pumps, and I recommend that principle as a way to avoid, because usually pumps always come down, and by the time you find out about a pump, you're probably too late already, and you're probably just the exit liquidity for somebody who bought before the pump. So if you just take the principle that you don't buy in pumps, you'll avoid most of the times when things are being manipulated to get you to FOMO into a project. And pumps, when you have a project that's much less traded, like even if it's a very legitimate project, like let's take Meta Angels, They don't have anywhere near as much volume as, say, other deeds. They have some volume, but like, to create a pump in this kind of volume climate where there's like, not that many sales every day is much easier. Like and it's much cheaper as well. It would be easy to create a pump in this by spending like, 10 ETH or something, and then selling to people who momentum buy during the pump. So like, and people, can have bots and stuff scripted to make a pump happen. So one of the ways to avoid that is simply don't buy during pumps. Pumps always come back down. Here there was a little pump, and look at that, it came back down. You don't need to risk, like, it's not worth the risk. Sometimes, yeah, like it will pump like this and it will just keep pumping and it will just go up more and more and more. But there's a kind of probability game there. Like the chances that you catch the pump early are very small. And the pumps are also where it's most likely to be manipulated. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, Dickens's. But hopefully it helps people avoid being the let's look at goblins. Being the person who's getting being the turkey, basically. If we look at goblins, if it loads, it's probably a lot of transactions in the last 7 days. So that's probably why it's slow. Yeah, it might not manage to load that many transactions. Oh, there you go. So you see all these, every time there's a pump, they come back down. And by the way, you see all those red dots? Those are all like, notable wallets selling. So people have been pumping this thing and then selling, like, all the influencers have been shilling it, have also been selling it at the same time, which tells you a lot about this kind of project, right? And if we don't hide out, no, we need to hide outliers. And yeah, like, you might have made money buying it, like, but you don't know that there was going to be the second pump. So you might have bought here thinking, okay, it's going up. It's like, it's hitting 1 ETH, it's going to get to 2 ETH, and then it crashes back down to 0.4, 0.5. And then you hold for several days before knowing whether it's going to go up. And actually, most of the time, it never goes back up. So the fact that it's now going up to 1.4, fine. Like that means that if you bought at the top of the pump here, you might still be making money, but it's very risky to buy these kind of projects. You're basically gambling is the way I look at it. Which, again, if you're doing that knowingly and with money you can afford, fine. I don't have a problem with that. Gambling is a human activity. It's okay. But just know what you're doing. And if you want to avoid being manipulated, don't buy when the price is doing this. It's almost guaranteed that it's going to come crashing back down anyway at this point. When exactly, don't know, but it's unlikely to just prices never just shoot up and stay up. They always like go up and then sort of start slowly coming back down. Let me see if I can use my thing. They always go up and then sort of start coming back down, and then some kind of other pump happens that makes it go up. But sometimes the other pump doesn't happen. So what happens is they go up and then they slowly bleed down over time. And if you bought at the top, you're screwed. Cool. I'm not sure if there are any other questions. I'll put the music back on just to help draw them out. But thanks for the question, Dickens's. Hope the answer was helpful. Did my best there. But if you have more questions, feel free to hop into the Discord and talk about it some more. And I'd be happy to try and help. So is ETH still sinking? See, it's rebounding. It's gonna be all right. It's another dip day in the crypto space. Cool. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll be reviewing The Rebels later today in about half an hour. So feel free to join in then if you'd like to listen to the review, or you can listen to it afterwards. And thank you very much for your time and your attention. I really appreciate it as usual. And good luck trading, and don't be the turkey. Take care.